I'm always telling people that I don't think we need another stimulus, certainly not almost $2 trillion in stimulus. And when they say, well, what about all the people out of work? I say, well, what about the 6 million open jobs in America right now? And they say, oh, I didn't know we had 6 million jobs. Yes, we do. So why don't you go get one? But you know what is probably going to kill a lot of those open jobs that are available right now? That would be Joe Biden's $15 an hour minimum wage to try to destroy America's small business. Elaine Parker joins me now, who's president of the Job Creators Network Foundation. Elaine, good to have you back. So Joe Biden and the Congress, the Democrat Congress, still pushing a $15 an hour minimum wage, even when their Congressional Budget Office tells them it's going to almost immediately kill almost 1.5 million jobs, right?
Actually, the CBO's report came out and said that it would kill as many as 2.7 million jobs. So the top end of it could be as many as 2.7 million jobs. So it is a job killer, and small business is probably the ones that are going to be hurt the worst. And what's been so outrageous for us is we've been watching Amazon actually lobby legislatures to increase the minimum wage. They're literally running ads to increase the minimum wage. And at the same time, the Washington Post, which is owned by the same person, Jeff Bezos, is their editorial board came out and argued against the $15 an hour minimum wage because they said that it was raising it too fast and to an unprecedented level. And so I guess you could say that the left hand wasn't talking to the far left hand on this one.
Well, think about it this way. Who does Amazon compete with? I would guess bricks and mortar retail. Who has to use more labor? Jeff Bezos, who I'm sure at some point will probably automate to a greater degree than he already has, the warehouses that help distribute Amazon's products. The small business, even the grocery store, they have a tougher time automating. The bigger dogs will win. The small ones will get pushed out of the way. I mean, in some ways, it's like, okay, take out my competition. We'll pay our people $15 an hour. We're rapidly getting rid of them anyway, I would imagine, through automation. And meantime, our bricks and mortar competition, they will go upside down financially very quickly. Does that sound like a workable theory?
That is exactly right, and that's exactly what we see happening. And the reality is, small businesses, whether they're the grocery store or the dry cleaner or the local pizza parlor, they're working on very slim profits. They're not Amazon. They're not making billions of dollars a year, where a $15 an hour minimum wage, starting their employees there is not a big deal to them. And so I know that when Amazon did this a few years ago, they did it to a bunch of fanfare and they got fantastic press coverage over it. But I don't know that people notice, but some employees actually ended up making even less money than they did before because the monthly bonuses and the stock options disappeared in exchange for that pay bump.
And yet they're going to push through with it anyway. And I would point out that in Jeff Bezos' hometown, one of the biggest grocery chains in America, Kroger, decided to close 2 grocery stores because the local city council said, we want to have $4 an hour hazard pay for all your workers. And Kroger just said, doesn't pencil, and they've announced they're closing the stores down. And at the same time, they've announced they're going to come up with, Kroger is, a fully automated grocery store, which I'm sure would still have to have a few people in it. But for the most part, they'd get rid of all those cashiers, all the checkers, probably have somebody at minimum wage to stock the shelves, but they'll get rid of almost all of it and make it all automated at a grocery store level. Great for the bigger chains, not so good for the mom and pop.
Absolutely. And Lars, I mean, look, everyone, you, me, Republicans, Democrats, we all agree and support higher wages for those who need them most. We all start there. We just disagree on how to get there. And we know that there are millions of jobs available. And the reality is if we've got somebody who's flipping burgers, who's, say, over the age of 24, 25, they're out of they're over the college age where you'd want a part-time job, and you're looking for that full-time job, if you're flipping burgers and you get a couple bucks an hour more, you're still flipping burgers. Your life hasn't been changed. You're not on a career path that you can make yourself valuable to other employers. And there are jobs out there. We need to identify these people and provide them with skills training, get them on a career path, and land one of these millions of jobs, HVA techs, HVAC techs, electricians, plumbing jobs. These jobs start out at $50,000 a year or more. I mean, we should be trying to raise earning ceilings, not wage floors. And we shouldn't be fighting for $15 an hour. We should be fighting for $50,000 a year careers, and doing that through skills training.
I mean, I've always said, Elaine, that I thought the minimum wage or making low wages was the marketplace trying to knock you in the head with a 2x4 and say, Lars, you need to get some skills. Get some skills and you'll be worth more. You don't need Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer telling people pay Lars more. You need some skills to where your employers say, I like your skills. I'm willing to pay for them. And then you'll get paid whatever you want to get paid.
Well, and the reality is that these entry-level jobs, these minimum wage jobs, were never meant to be living wages. They're for our teens and our college students and our part-timers to learn those initial skills, those soft skills, how to show up to work on time, how to do customer service so that they can move up the career ladder. It's that first rung of the skill ladder that you make yourself more valuable. I have a 17-year-old, and right now she can't even find a part-time job because of the pandemic, because small business has been decimated. And so she continues looking for that, that first job, and she can't find it because, there aren't a lot of those first jobs available right now. But if you start increasing wage mandates on small businesses, and we're going to see even less jobs. And we can look to Seattle as an example. They raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour, and they did a study on it. And people actually lost money, and we lost jobs out there as a direct result of the increase in the minimum wage out there.
It's really terrible. And I'll tell you something else. I bet you didn't tell your 17-year-old, by the way, honey, stay at home. You can live here with mom and dad. We'll make sure you always have money in your pocket and a car and everything else, and we'll pay your bills. If you did that, what your daughter might be different, but some kids might say, great, if mom and dad are going to pay the bills indefinitely. Well, when you tell people you can come out of high school with zero skills, you and your sweetheart, and if each of you have one 40-hour-a-week minimum wage job, your household income is $60,000. The average American family gets by on about $58,000 a year, and you're already making more than that. So when somebody says, "Are you going to get more skills?" you go, "No, I make $60,000 a year with no skills. Why would I try?"
Exactly. And there's another option that we can look at, and it actually is in the bill, and it's something that I do agree with the Biden administration on, and that is expanding the Earned Income Tax Credit, which we actually call the Working Americans Credit. We think it should be renamed so that people understand it better. It's too wonky the way they talk about it. But it is one of the most effective social assistance programs that the country has, and one of the few policies to enjoy very broad bipartisan support, which is rare these days and has been rare for a long time to see bipartisan support. But what it does is it supplements low-income wages through the tax code. So we can actually identify these low-income workers who are stuck in minimum wage jobs, and we can rewarding these workers without punishing small businesses, because we can supplement it, boost the workers' wages
Elaine,
with a few dollars. Yes.
I'm up against a break, but one day we're going to have a talk about the EITC, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I appreciate it. That's Elaine Parker from the Job Creators Network.